Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to a rather chilly Johannesburg. So, as promised from last time, I said we'd get into some of the harder, more practical security skills and give you a quick injection of security. And what I thought I'd focus on today is how do I walk out of my house at night into the dark of the garden. There might be various reasons for you doing this. You might have had a fabulous dinner party with some friends and it's time for them to leave. They've eaten all your ham, they've disturbed the children, and they're starting to smell a little bit funny. Or maybe you need to go out in the night and fetch somebody from the airport, or a teenager that's gone out for the night at the town, or maybe it's just a case of you've heard a strange sound. In that circumstance, I would always advise call your security company or whatever security resources you have. But maybe you're in a place where you don't have access to those things and you need to go and investigate. So the question is, how do we go outside and do this safely? And the first thing I would say to you is you need to invest in some curtains on your windows. Curtains are not just an aesthetic device in the house. They're actually an important security tool because they give you cover from sight. And I've unfortunately attended incidents over the years where people have been shot through their windows and curtains could have actually protected them, simply because the bad guys outside can't tell where the people are in the inside. So we've got some curtains, and before we step out we want to have a quick glimpse out through a window that's going to give you some kind of natural surveillance over your garden. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. I want to try and place as much of my body against a wall, so that's at least got some cover from a solid object, and I'll make a space along the side of the curtain and have a peek out, and there's a good chance that might give me a little bit of an advantage. I might see some movement, or I might see people, as has happened on many occasions, and I know not to go outside. The next thing I would invest in is some lighting around the external part of your garden. There's different ways of thinking about lighting. Some people like to have continuous flood lighting on. I'm not a fan of that because it creates light pollution and it kind of desensitizes you to the environment. I prefer motion sensitive lighting because when that light comes on, it's a call to action. It is a reason to look. And you want to place your lighting in parts of your garden where you know you've got dark spots, or perhaps your perimeter security is a little bit weaker and you need to keep an eye on it. Which lighting should you be using? Rather just get the lighting that you can afford. So yes, there is better and worse lighting. There's LED lighting, there's solar lighting nowadays, there's all sorts of wonderful things. But if you can't afford that stuff, at least get something up because it's going to give you an advantage. I have a light that I switch on before I go outside, so I'll turn that light on and look out through the window, and immediately I can see my yard and it's clear. If anybody's there, it's going to be clear and easy for me to spot them. What equipment should I be taking with me? One of the most important pieces of equipment is your flashlight. It's your torch. Again, you don't have to get the 20,000 lumen firebolt spotlight. If you get the flashlight that you can afford, all right, get the best one that you can afford, and the same goes for if you're going to take weaponry with you. If you're a person that does carry a firearm, or perhaps you don't, and you've got a pepper spray, or perhaps you've got a stun gun, whatever the case is, that stuff needs to be on your body. It's no good in a drawer on the top of the cupboard or in the safe, because when the crisis happens, you're not going to be able to go run inside and fetch that thing out and come out and address the bad guys. But if it's on your body, you can grab it, you can deploy it, and you can. It gives you that tactical advantage that you need. Now, I've had a scan outside. I'm ready to go out the door. If it's a scenario where I'm, say, just going out and coming back inside, I'm going to leave the keys for the door in the actual door. And the reason for that is that under crisis, my fine motor coordination is not really going to work so well. Remember, when we go into fight or flight mode, it's all about macromuscular structure. We're supposed to be fighting off saber-toothed tigers and gazelles. I haven't seen any of those recently in my garden. But what's important is that I'm not going to be able to get that key out of my pocket, get it in the lock it while 3 guys are rushing me. But if the key's in the door, I can slam the door, turn the lock, half the battle's done, there and then. Now I step out into the doorway, and be careful of this because doorways have a shape and usually there's a light behind you, so they create a silhouette. And for anybody observing you, this is something easy for you. It makes them easy for them to spot you. So I'm gonna, as I'm stepping through my doorway, I'm doing a quick scan, and I'm going to move away from that doorway, preferably to a part of the garden where I have some kind of organic structure, a tree or a bush, something that will break my silhouette and break the shape of my very human form, and make it a little bit more difficult for somebody trying to observe to tell where I am. And for a few moments, before I do anything else, I'm simply going to listen. Because at night, quite often, your sense of hearing is a much better sensory tool than your sense of sight. So I'm going to listen. If you really want to get sort of survivalist Bear Grylls about it, you might even want to cup your ears and extend your ears with your hands. You will, if you try that now, you will find that it focuses the sound, and you'll get some great stares from your family, which is an added bonus. I can't hear anything, and just another important thing about sound is that you know the sounds of your environment. You know the sounds of your neighbor's gate closing, and or your dog, or your neighbor's dog. You know the sounds of leaves crunching on your perimeter. You know the sounds of what sound a car should sound like when it drives past your yard. So what are we looking for? And I've discussed this before. We're looking for anomalies, strange sounds that shouldn't belong at this time. Now I'm going to get my flashlight out, and I'm going to scan. And the way I do that is I'm going to scan from right to left. And the reason why we do that, we're programmed to look from left to right. We learn that from day one. It's one of our reading skills. And as any good editor will tell you, we miss things when we do that. So we just break that pattern by looking right to left. We're looking for details that don't belong. And again, we're going to the principles of camouflage, and maybe sometime I'll make a post about it, but we're looking for silhouette, shape, size, shine, shadow, sound that don't belong. Something that's going to warn you something's wrong. I need to get inside. I need to take action. And with my torch, I'm going to scan, especially for hot spots. Again, areas where I know my perimeter security might be weak, areas where I know it would be easy for somebody to hide. And we've done that work already. You should know your garden. You should, sometimes it's important to get off your couch and go and spend some time outside and learn about your environment. The last thing I want to chat about is dogs. They are an incredible resource. Remember, they're far better skilled at assessing the dark than we are. And that's because of these things. They can smell people far better than we, although we can actually be trained to smell people too. They're far better than us. They've got better eyesight. They've got far better hearing as well. And it's a case of you learning to read your dog's body language. There's a bark that says, I'm barking at a rat in the garden, or I'm barking at the moon. And then there's a bark that says, I'm agitated, there's something over there that's really upsetting me. Or maybe the hair's gone up on the dog's back, or its tail has gone stiff. It's a warning sign that this dog has detected trouble. So I like my dogs to mill around, because it's very, very hard for people to evade these creatures. So I hope that helped. Remember, this process is not a long process. It can be anything from 45 seconds to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, depending on the situation, and depending on the levels of danger. If I really believe there's someone in the garden and I'm investigating, I'm going to find a nice dark spot and I'm going to spend time listening, observing before I make my move. What you've really got to do is make this a habit. I've been doing this for years. It hasn't detracted from my quality of life. It hasn't made me a more paranoid person. What it has done is it's made me take ownership of my environment. It's empowered me. And I encourage you to do the same. Experiment with it. Drop me a line if you've got any questions. If there's something you'd like me to cover, also put something in the comment section and I will respond to you. Until next time, build a safer world, and I'll see you again.